I hadn't planned to stay long. That was the lie I told myself as I drove the familiar road. Hands steady on the wheel, my daughter humming softly in the back seat. The house appeared the same way it always had, too many lights, with tilted slightly left, the front window fogged from cooking. A place designed to look generous from the outside. Inside, coats piled up immediately. Voices overlapped. Someone pressed a glass into my hand without asking what I wanted. I caught my mother's eye across the room. She smiled the way she always did now, tight, anticipatory, like she was waiting for a moment to prove something. I had walked away once. Not dramatically. No shouting, no ultimatums. I just stopped showing up when every visit ended with my daughter asking why Grandma was different to her. I stayed gone longer than they expected. Long enough for a story to be written about me. Tonight was supposed to be neutral ground. A gift exchange. Something procedural enough to keep everyone polite. My sister's kids went first. Their names were called with enthusiasm. Paper tore. Screens lit up. The room leaned forward. Phones were passed around so everyone could admire them. My sister laughed, already explaining storage and cases, already basking in the relief of having done it right. Then my daughter's name. She stood when she was told, small hands smoothing the knees of her dress. She smiled the way children do when they're trying to be brave without knowing why. The box was light. I noticed that first. She shook it once, gently, as if it might break. The wrapping came away easily. Too easily. The box beneath was crushed on one corner, taped along the side. She opened it and paused. Inside was a used crayon set. The paper sleeve torn, colors dulled and broken, the tips rounded from someone else's pressure. She didn't cry. She looked up at me, then back at the box, trying to understand the rules. She had a pather laughed. Mother laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. Well, she said, her voice bright. That's what happens when your mom walks away from the family. The room didn't go silent. That would have been too kind. Instead, it did something worse. It hesitated. A few people smiled reflexively. Someone cleared their throat. My sister didn't look over at all. She was busy adjusting one of the phones in its case. I felt something old try to rise. Heat. A need to correct the record. To list reasons. To justify my absence with receipts and timelines. I didn't. I knelt beside my daughter and helped her close the box. Thank you for opening it so carefully, I said quietly. She nodded, relieved to have instructions again. Under the tree were several gifts I had brought. They were wrapped neatly, tags already written. I had spent weeks choosing them, second, guessing, upgrading when I could. Not to compete, just to participate. I reached for them now. The movement was small, but it registered. Paper rustled. My mother stopped smiling. These were for them, I said, holding the stack against my chest. My voice surprised me by how even it was. They're not anymore. I didn't explain. I didn't apologize. I didn't look at anyone in particular. There was a beat where my mother opened her mouth, ready to restore order the way she always had, with commentary, with humor sharpened just enough to cut. She didn't get the chance. My aunt, who had hosted every holiday since my grandmother died, whose house this was, whose rules were usually invisible because no one challenged them, stood up from her chair. No, she said. One word. Flat. Undeniable. The room finally went quiet. She crossed the space between us and put herself slightly in front of me without touching me. A physical reorientation. Everyone understood. We're not doing this, she continued. Not tonight. Not here. My mother tried to laugh it off. I was just joking. You weren't, my aunt said. Calm, not angry. And you're done. It was astonishing how quickly the balance shifted when someone with unquestioned authority named what was happening. Not as a debate. As a fact. My aunt turned to my daughter. Sweetheart, she said, softening instantly. Come sit with me for a minute. She guided her to the couch, placed a blanket around her shoulders. The crayon box disappeared from view. To my sister, she said, we'll pause the exchange. Not a suggestion. No one argued. My mother sat back down. Her face looked unfamiliar without the smirk, like a mask that had slipped. She didn't look at me again. The gifts stayed in my arms. They felt heavier now, not with guilt, but with finality. I placed them by the door. The rest of the evening unfolded carefully. Conversations resumed in lower registers. Plates were filled and refilled. Laughter happened, but it was cautious, like everyone had learned a new rule and wasn't sure how to test it yet. No one asked me to put the gifts back. When it was time to leave, my aunt walked us out. She squeezed my shoulder once. You didn't do anything wrong, she said, as if she were stating the weather. Outside, the air was cold and clean. My daughter buckled herself into her seat. She was quiet for a few blocks. Did I do something bad? She finally asked. No, I said. The word came easily. You did everything right. She nodded, accepting that with the seriousness only children have. I drove away with fewer packages than I arrived with. The house behind us glowed the same as ever. From the outside, nothing had changed. Inside me, something had settled. Not triumph. Not revenge. Just the quiet certainty that I no longer needed to earn my place by enduring what I shouldn't have to. Some doors close loudly. Some don't need to. This one stayed open, but on my terms.